So we've got Evan Washburn joining us for his season report card because it's Cannons week.
Right.
So, Evan, we're just going to go right down the list here. Why don't we start with offense? What would the grade be for the Cannons offense in 2018?
Let's say this. I was always not the benefactor of easy grading, so that might find its way into my grading system. I always loved it when things were done on a curve. I still don't really know what that means. But look, the offense to me, when you're a 5-9 team and really at times showed some lapses, has to be below a B. So I'm going to go C+. I was a big fan in school of getting the plus, except that one time I got a D-, and it just seemed like piling on. Why not just give me a D? But C+. Look, James Spinell, I think we talked about this last week or a couple weeks ago when we were doing the attack grades and team needs. And I like James Spinell. I think he's really emerged as a quality player in this league, but he needs a running mate. And Will Sands was that for a little while until he got banged up. And I think there's potential at that attack unit, but I could see an upgrade either in free agency or over the course of a couple of years in the draft. Sergio Perkovic, to me, is still a midfielder that you have to be worried about because of his size, his athleticism, and his ability to shoot. And I know Max Sebald's stepping away from the game, but he, over the course of the season, still brought it. So while it wasn't, in my opinion, a really effective group, it had flashes. So by no means is it a failing grade, but a C+ seemed accurate.
Passing.
Yeah, C+ is average. It's like,
good.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
good.
man.
You're nice. You're being really nice right now.
You're going to graduate. You're going to be good.
All right, Evan, let's start with defense. Defense was a little shaky at times, so what do you give them? They had 66 caused turnovers on the year. What is your grade for them?
Well, I'm contractually obligated based off of how much he embarrassed me when he was at Georgetown and we were at Delaware and we could never beat him. If Brody Merrill's on a defense, you're above a C in my department, so I'm giving him a B. I like Mitchell Lyle as well. I thought they had some other guys as I looked down this roster. Brandon Mullins is a player who I've always thought has some game to them. And you're right, the numbers at times weren't great. And look, there's an influx, and Brody comes in late. But I'm kind of using the grade of as a whole, when this group was whole, when Will Sands was part of the offense, when Brody's there, when everyone's healthy, what did it look like? And I gave this defense a B, but that's probably just because I like Mitch and Brody so much.
Two quality guys,
Right.
and still very good lacrosse players.
And you're still being very nice here.
So B, okay, let's go to the goalie position because that was a bit of an adventure for the Cannons this year. It seemed like they have the guy now in Nick Morocco. It took them a little while to get to Nick. I think they played like 5 guys in goal this year. How would you grade the goalie performance?
Yeah, I mean, I think the numbers in terms of guys in between the pipes speaks for themselves. This would be my toughest grade, I would imagine. It's going to be a D. And I agree. I think Nick Morocco could be a quality starter in this league coming into the next few years. He's really athletic in cage, got to do a bunch of his games at Georgetown. Streaky player over the course of his college career, and that doesn't necessarily bode well at the professional level because goalies are just under fire so much. Consistency, even-keeledness can be your greatest asset. So jury's still out, but he showed flashes, and really the grade's based off of the fact that if you can't count on a guy week in and week out, whether it's due to health, availability because of work, or things going on off the field, then it's a position group that deserves. Is that failing? I'm not sure. I
think it's like on the borderline, right?
I think it's kind of failing, right? In my household, it would be failing.
I'm not coming home with the D because that wouldn't be good. But maybe
major, you had to retake the class. That's how I always remember it.
Okay.
I retook English literature because I got that D-.
All right, so for the goalie, we have a D, and hopefully they figure something out with Nick for next season.
Yep.
Let's get to Faceoff. First, it was Nardella. Then we got to see Baptiste take the reins in that. They won 52% Faceoff on this season. What do you grade them?
Give him an A.
I never got one, but it's an A.
Yeah.
You've got an A before. I don't believe it.
I may have, and I'll have to go through the transcript, which I think looked like an alphabet. But my favorite was the A, where you could audit a class, which meant you just went there and listened, but you didn't get any credit, but you were still eligible.
Those were the best.
So that's probably the closest I got to an A, but this group gets an A because of the fact that Joe Nardella's one of the best faceoff men in the world, and then they drafted the most dominant collegiate player that once he got his feet under him and recognized some of the differences at the X at the professional level, looks like he's poised to do that as an MLL pro. So no reason to argue that this group deserves an A.
Yeah, tough to argue with that because, I mean, they had two of the best guys in the league at one point on their roster. That's a pretty good combination to have there at the Faceoff X. Let's go to coaching because you have Coach Quirk, who's now seemingly getting his feet wet in the league. You added in Dom Starsia and Ben Rubier as part of this coaching staff. How would you grade the coaching?
Well, I thought about this, and I was going to be clever, but then that always gets me in trouble. I was going to go incomplete for some of the reasons you brought up. I just feel like Sean's been in a situation where each year he's kind of had to employ some new system, whether it's front office management taking on that role of the front office, now a couple new coaches. But look, my grade for Sean, because that's really where I think it falls. I think Dom and Ben are still working their way into what it is to be expected of as an assistant at this level. For Sean, it's a B-. He had a lot thrown at him. You'd obviously want to have a better record than 5-9, but I think you also have to factor in where this team was playing. They had a little bit of a local barnstorming, traveling circus thing going on because of Harvard Stadium. He had a lot on his plate. I thought he managed it as a professional. Every time I talked to him, I appreciated his honesty about things. He knew they weren't very good at times. But my hope is that he gets a bit of a leash here. They let him try and work his system in with those coaches, with some new players, and maybe improve that grade into the higher B range or even an A. But I'll go with B-.
B- isn't bad.
No, it's good.
I used to be pretty happy if I didn't like the class and I got a B-.
That was good, yeah. All right, so let's do team. So basically take all of this and average it up, and what do you grade them overall as a team?
I'll give it a C. I mean, they have spots on their roster. They had spots in their season where they were a team that could compete with some of the best teams in the league. We saw that. But it's about consistency when you're 5-9 and really not that close to. It was a slow start, I know, but not that close to 500. There's no way I can have you anywhere above a C, and I think that's being a little bit generous because I think that they had some challenges that, look, every team probably face it, but it seemed to me that they whenever they had something rolling, something was thrown in their way. So a record that probably reflects more of a C- or a D, I'm going with a C because I can see beyond the numbers a little bit.
So it's not C for Cannons, it's C for just, it's kind of an all right.
Hey, there you go. That's why you went to Syracuse and spent all that money at Newhouse so that you could make that cute joke.
Just so I can make fun of you, Evan. That's what it's all about.
He was sitting here waiting to say that. Waiting to say that.
Hey, man, appreciate the grades. There you have it, Evan's 2018 season report card for the Cannons.
Thanks.